Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the Furibee X215 Pro-S. This is basically the same frame as the X215 that has been out for a while now, but they have some different electronics in this one. Mainly they've changed the motors and the internal electronics, the camera stack and the flight controller. I'll go over all that here in a second. First off, they changed the motors to these Furibee branded green 2306 2400 kV motors. They look kind of like these race car motors I've seen before. They were painted this green enamel color here, and they're using the 4-in-1 AC here because there's no ACs on the arm. Now the stack that they're using here is the Eachine Stack-X, or the F4 Stack-X, that I did a couple of videos on, and as you know, if you've been watching my videos, I had issues with the flight controller video transmitter board. And this one seems to be an updated version of the Stack-X. There's some writing on the board over here where it says like it's version 2.0. Essentially it's the same stack. So you got the same HD camera, 1080p, 60 frames per second. You got a F4 flight controller with a Betaflight OSD and a video transmitter, and a 4-in-1 35 amp ESC, that's BLS. Components are essentially the same, but they just changed, they updated the flight controller, I believe, because they've elected to mount the gyro on a little piece of foam here, which I think does help a little bit. But as you'll see in the flight footage later, when I make hard turns with this and I get prop wash, I get oscillations that go into the gyro, and you get a massive D-term oscillation that actually causes a lot of really bad problems. Video breaks are really bad. The voltage drops in the battery really strongly. So I really didn't get to push this all that much. And you'll see the high def footage, and I'll show you the FPV footage as well. You'll see what I mean when I make hard maneuvers. Now, obviously they've gone this route with the foam and the gyro on the foam here to alleviate the basically the vibrations going into the gyro, because the gyro is the same. It's the same model. It's a 32 kilohertz capable gyro, and it's got the same issues that the original did. But they've, now that they put it on the foam, it's not quite as bad, but vibrations still get through to the gyro here. And then you can see here that they've even soft mounted the whole stack here. So I think some additional soft mounting will be needed to actually eliminate that. And using the stock props here, these are the 5048 racer star props. Yeah, it needs either a different tune or props that are going to be less vulnerable to prop wash oscillations. So I think that, for a future video, I will probably use different props and a different tune. I flew this exactly the way it came out of the box, because it did come with a custom set of PIDs, and it actually had pretty much everything customized. The PIDs, the rates, I think it even had anti-gravity turned on and everything. It had the latest version of Betaflight 323, so it seems that someone flew this, or a version of this, and they put their settings on the flight controller. So that's why I flew it the way I did out of the box without any changes at all. So I think in order to get this flying better, I think I'll probably go with some different props. I'll probably switch these to some, maybe some dowel props, some cyclone props, something a little more balanced, or maybe some gem fans. It's got to be something a little bit better balanced prop. It's not going to send so much vibrations in. And if I still have that issue, I'm probably going to have to modify the mounting of the flight stack here and soft mount the flight controller even more. Now this particular version 2 of this board did not give me the same issue with the video transmitter, with the signal would break up when I would fly more than, say, like 10-20 feet away. The video transmitter seemed to work just fine, so that wasn't an issue. Now there was no documentation that came in the box in terms of how to set your channels and bands and all that for the video transmitter. So you'll have to refer to some, I'm not exactly sure if they have a manual on this on the product page, but if you go to I think the Eachine Stack-X product page, I think there's a manual over there that explains how to change the channels and bands. You have to issue some CLI commands, and if you go into CLI and type get VTX. It'll list off all the VTX commands for you. Basically, you just have to change the bands and the channels and the power setting. And I think the power setting is defaulted to 200 milliwatts. So that's good. Now, you can see here that since they just basically reused and repurposed the frame from the X215, and this camera is way too long, it just sticks out like a sore thumb there. And that's completely unprotected. So if you happen to have smashed the front of the quad here into something, this camera is going to be completely wrecked, or at least the lens will be. So I did try and see if there's any way to move that back or protect it a little bit better, but there's really no room there because the barrel is just, I mean, the camera is so long, and you can see that it just butts up against, pretty much up against the flight stack here. That top board there is the camera board. And then, you know, I got your buttons here to start and stop your recording. You press that button to start and stop. And then your SD card is buried kind of here, and you kind of have to use like some tweezers or something to get the card in and out. It's not super difficult, but it is a little bit annoying that it's located there. That's because of the design of the camera board, where you have the buttons over here, and they should have put the SD card slot on the other side on over here to make the insertion and replacement of the card easier. So not much you can do about that, but at least it is somewhat accessible with some tools and a little bit of maneuverability inside there. Anyway, so as I said, I did fly this completely stock out of the box with the settings it came with, because I thought that it looked like someone tuned it. And generally speaking, it flies okay, except when you do big throttle punch outs and also fly into your own prop wash, and then the quad starts shaking, and then you get the D-term oscillation where it really starts shaking badly, and you'll see that in the flight footage. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'll roll that flight footage for you, and then I'll talk a little bit more about it during the flight footage. Okay, so I'm going to show a little bit of the FPV footage first, then I'll show the HD footage a little bit later. And I'm just kind of taking it easy on this flight. I will show you here when I do make the sort of sharp turn. Basically, I make the reverse direction and fly into my prop wash. It kind of just goes kind of nuts. And like right there, you saw the video break up, and then it drops an arm, and the voltage drops, and it gets worse as the flight goes on. I noticed that happened, and then I was like, okay, well, that's kind of weird. And there again, I made a sharp turn, and again, it dropped an arm, and it shook violently. Obviously, you can't hear it. You might be able to hear it in the HD footage, but it didn't really. The microphone on the camera doesn't work that well, so it just gets drowned out by the prop noise. But there again, I also made another hard turn, and every time I do that, you get video breakup, and you get D-term oscillation, and the voltage drops. And so you couldn't really do a lot of hard maneuvers with this. So I just kind of was cruising around, and I wanted to see. There again, I tried another hard turn, and once again it dropped, and then you get a little low voltage warning on the screen as well. And this is I'm 1 minute into the flight on a freshly charged 4S battery, so I knew definitely something was up here. And I tried some rolls, and that seemed to be okay. Some rolls and flips were okay, and also a little bit of throttle punch outs were okay. But whenever I fly into my prop wash, I get the massive D-term oscillations. And here I'm actually trying to force it, see if I can get even more. And every time I make that sharp turn, you can see how it causes the video to break up, and then you can see the vibration in the video as well, the jello. So that's basically what happened with this flight, and I think that really comes down to the props and also the vibration isolation of the flight controller. And we'll have to see, maybe there's another one right there, and you can see the voltage dropped a lot there. Went to 13 something, and I think at this point I decided to basically end the test here, and I wanted to bring it back and in one piece and not have it crash on me, and so I could maybe make some modifications and fly this a little bit later with less vibrations from the gyros. So yeah, I think that this is still a work in progress. I think that obviously someone flew it and put a tune on it, but I'm not sure how they will flew it without noticing these D-term oscillations in the flight performance, so it's kind of strange. But anyway, go ahead and I'll show you the high-def footage now.